Well, good evening and welcome to our temporary council chambers. So thank you for accommodating us. Our current council chambers are under remodel. So thank you all for coming and making your way down to what we know as our History Museum. So thank you for doing that. And welcome to the Tempe City Council regular council meeting here at the History Museum for July 31st, 2019. If all is able, could you please rise? We're going to have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, I now turn to Councilmember Arredondo Savage for the meeting minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move approval of item 3A1.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Arredondo Savage, seconded by Councilmember Keating. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry forward. Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move for acceptance of item 3B 1 through 9.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Arredondo Savage, seconded by Councilmember Keating. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion does move forward. Next, I'm going to come down to the podium, and I have some mayor's announcements. So the city of Tempe has partnered with SRP to remove hazardous trees encroaching on power lines and to replace them with trees that are more suitable for the particular area. For every tree that is removed, SRP will plant 3 new trees in the city's right-of-way, increasing our tree canopy coverage while enhancing electric reliability as well as safety. The removed trees will be chipped and utilized for composting as part of the city's Green Organics program. And I want to thank our public information team for everything they've done with their great work on the video that they really helped produce for this initiative. So let's watch the video. You can watch behind me, and I guess colleagues, you can look that way.
Tall growing trees with large canopies need lots of area to spread their limbs and flourish. And when they are constricted under overhead power lines, they don't have the opportunity to grow to their full potential. So we're advocating planting the right tree in the right place with smaller canopy, lower growing trees in or around our power lines.
This is a partnership with SRP and the City of Tempe to remove hazardous trees underneath power lines. 2 years of structural trimming to adjust the trees to fit around the power lines. The integrity of the trees were not in good shape, so it's the best decision to remove those trees and put more suitable trees underneath the power lines.
When the trees grow into the power lines, we have the potential to have momentary or extended outages. We also risk the potential of fire danger, which will harm our equipment, potentially harm the personnel that are working in and around the power lines, as well as the residents who are near that overhead line. And in our partnership with Tempe, we were able to identify hazard trees that are encroaching on our overhead lines. We agreed to remove the trees and in exchange to replant in multiples.
The trees that we're replacing are a little bit slower growth, will not get that huge height, but will provide a wonderful canopy to offer the things that we want for our residents in the city of Tempe. We're not going to waste anything. We're actually going to, each tree that's removed that is deemed as a hazardous tree, that we're going to have the crews come out and chip them and bring them to our compost facility and be a part of our compost inside our parks, right-of-ways, medians, and also in some people's gardens. It helps on reducing a little bit of our heat index in our right-of-ways, provide shade to our residents as they're walking through our sidewalks. It's a great program.
SRP shares the goal for increasing the urban canopy, for reducing our carbon footprint, and for reducing the urban heat island effect as well. Those goals are mutually aligned, and we're happy to support.
Let's give SRP a round of applause. And if we can get SRP, come on, Sean.
Thank you.
All right, our next announcement is really exciting. Tonight, we're here to celebrate the completion of the Tempe Parkview Townhomes, which is a beautiful new community created with Habitat for Humanity in Central Arizona and CEO Jason Barlow. Could you please come on down? As they make their way up here, the City of Tempe and Habitat for Humanity have been working together for more than 30 years to expand affordable housing in the City of Tempe. The Parkview community is one of the highlights of this project. The city purchased a blighted lot on Don Carlos Avenue using community development block grant funds and then turned to Habitat to build a really unique community, maximizing the 1 acre lots with 3-story townhomes. The city also controlled the federal home funds to help keep the townhomes affordable. More than 7,000 amazing volunteers stepped up to help build this great community. 18 families, all first-time home buyers, also spent their time helping to build their own homes. Some of them had never done anything like that before. But they picked up hammers, they climbed ladders to make better futures for themselves. This ambitious dream is now complete, and we're excited about the new projects on the horizon with Habitat that will bring more homes in our community and to our community, and hope that families will enjoy them even more in the great city of Tempe. So with that, I'd like to have Jason like to say a few words on behalf of Habitat for Humanity. Jason.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Well, we certainly appreciate the long partnership. As the mayor said, over 30 years, Habitat has been partnering with the city of Tempe to build affordable homes and find affordable housing solutions. This neighborhood, it was a 5-year labor of love for us. We had, as he said, about 7,000 volunteers contribute over 70,000 hours, of time, valued at about $1.5 million. And all of the people that live there, 59 individuals currently live there. One of them's Mohammed, this tall guy in the back. He's one of the homeowners there. He worked on 5 of the homes himself as a team leader. So Habitat's mission is we partner with these families. They come in, they help construct their own home, 400 hours of sweat equity, and then they will pay us an affordable mortgage back over a period of time at 0% interest. We're able to do that because of tremendous sponsors. We had quite a few sponsors in that neighborhood. I won't even read them all to you because it's an amazing list, but they contributed another $1.5 million in help, 28 sponsors, another $1.5 million in helping us build that. But we're delighted about the partnership to improve affordable housing here in Tempe. Our mission is to bring God's people together to build homes, communities, and hope, and I think that's what we did here in Tempe and the Tempe Parkview townhomes. And we have another 20 lots. It has been awarded to Habitat, so we'll be building another at least 20 homes in and around the city of Tempe going forward. Thank you very much. Members of the city council.
I got it right here. We got to help with your campaign, right?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
All right, thanks, Jason. Let's give a round of applause to Habitat for Humanity one more time. Also, this evening, per the Tempe City Charter, the mayor has made board and commission appointments this evening as part of a regular meeting agenda. This appointment is listed under 5A1. And lastly, for anyone that have never been to the Tempe Historical Museum, we want to welcome you here. How many people remember what this was before the museum? is a library. It was our city-owned city library before we transformed it and built the new library. So welcome. This will, as I mentioned earlier, this will be our temporary council chambers for some time. I want to thank all the staff for what they've done to help with this transition. And also I want to thank the public for your patience on this as we use this temporary space. So little housekeeping, the restrooms are located across the foyer here. Once you exit here, you will have to be wand when you come back in. This is a quick wand. It's for some safety reasons. So just to let everybody know, but thank you so much for being patient and working with us during this transition. It's just temporary. So thank you so much. All right, with that, we're going to move on to city manager's announcements. Mr. Ching.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a couple announcements tonight. First, kind of going off of what you just said about the temporary chambers here, there was a lot of work in a short time frame by quite a few city employees to make this a reality today. And I just wanted to appreciate all the employees from the police department, from community services, from our community development department, internal services, IT, and communications and media relations that came together and really put together, while it is a temporary facility, it's also a very functional one, and we're really proud of it. And if there are things that you see, like you said, that we can do to improve over the next few months while we're here, we certainly would like to hear that. So thank you to all those employees who did such a great job. Secondly, and I'm somewhat bittersweet, but also very happy for this employee. We're going to be wishing a happy retirement to Ginny Belusik. Ginny is our diversity manager, but has worked for the city of Tempe in various capacities for the last 37 years. She is the current longest tenured employee we have with the city of Tempe. She has been outstanding in all of her roles that she's had over the years. She's a tremendous asset to the city of Tempe, and we're going to be saying goodbye to her in a retirement celebration tomorrow, actually in this room from 3 to 5. So we're excited for her future on her behalf, but we're also going to miss her very much. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Ching. With that, we're going to move on to our consent agenda. All the items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and will be enacted with one motion by the City Council unless an item is removed for separate consideration. Members of the public may remove public hearing items for separate consideration. Public hearing items are designated by an asterisk, and council members may remove any item for separate consideration. If you do wish to speak on an item, please fill out your speaker's card, which can be found in the back of the room, and then please hand it to the front of the room to our clerk, and we'll make sure that we'll call your name when it is your turn to speak for public comment. Miscellaneous items 5A1 through 5A13, awards and bids and contracts, items 5B1 through 5B20, resolutions, items 5C1 through 5C11, except with the exception of items 5B12, which has been removed and deleted from this agenda. And at the request of staff and the council, we're going to remove item 5C1 for separate consideration, as well as, I think that's it. Is there a motion with the consent agenda as read?
So moved.
You have something else that wants to be removed? Yep. Hang on one second. Vice Mayor Kuby.
I'd like to remove 5A3.
Okay. Okay, so with that being said, the consent agenda is for 5A1 through 5A13, items 5B1 through 5B12, items 5C1 through 5C11, with the exception of 5B12, removal of 5C1 and 5A3. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read? It's been moved by Councilmember Keating, seconded by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. All those in favor, please raise your, I think it's a roll call vote, or raise your right hand, or just raise your hand. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? That motion carries 7-0. All right, we're going to look to item 5A3, Vice Mayor Kuby.
Yes, it's about our neighborhood grant program, and this year we are funding upwards of $296,000 to 26 neighborhood associations and 10 homeowners associations. I just want to thank staff for all the work putting the neighborhood grant application process together and advising our neighborhood associations. There are also a lot of previous applicants that have counseled other homeowners associations and neighborhood associations in the process to make it easier for them to model and plan a grant. And this is just one of the great things that we do. We increased the amount of funding last year, and now neighborhoods can apply for up to $15,000 of funding. With HOAs, there's a match involved, but with neighborhood associations, it's upwards of $15,000 per neighborhood. So thank you to staff and to all the neighborhoods that made this program possible.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Is there, yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 5A3.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Mayor Kuby, seconded by Councilmember Keating. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Could be any hand. All those opposed? That motion does carry 7-0. Next is item 5C1, and which is the adoption of resolution urging the Arizona legislature to become the 38th state to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. I'm happy to bring this forward with Vice Mayor Kuby and the rest of the City Council. For those of you who don't know, the Equal Rights Amendment states that equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state or on the account of sex. I know there's many of you here in this room this evening looking to supporting the passage of this resolution. With that being said, we pulled this initiative. It's not a public hearing item, but we are going to make it a public hearing item. And I would like to have, if council would like to make the comments first, they'd be more than happy to. And then I know since there's many of you in this room, I have some cards. If you could be brief in some of the remarks, considering the number of cards we have, that would be good as well. With that, a little history lesson. Back in the class you had to have when you were a senior in high school. If Arizona ratifies the Equal Rights Amendment, we will be the 38th state to do so. As part of a little history lesson, the U.S. Constitution requires 38 states to ratify any amendment to the Constitution. And while the deadline for the ratification has technically passed, we're hoping the state continues to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment, and Congress will act to retroactively move for the ratification regarding the date allowing the ERA to become the 28th Amendment to the Constitution. So with that, I'll look to my colleagues. Anyone like to make any comments regarding items 5C1? Vice Mayor Kuby.
So yes, Sedona, Jerome, Clarkdale, Tolleson, Tucson, Miami, Quartzsite, Springerville, and the list of cities is growing. Thanks so much to you folks for the 38 Miles movement and the ERA task force. Thank you for all your work, and to Diane Post for bringing this issue to us. We're seeing more and more cities align, and it's not just cities, it's small towns of Arizona. And I'm really pleased that the committee that I serve on for the Arizona League of Cities, the Neighborhood Quality Sustainability Life Committee, has also proposed this resolution before the Arizona League of Cities in August. The League is going to be voting on this resolution as well. I think that will be a powerful statement if 91 of our cities and towns come out and pass a resolution all in this umbrella resolution. So I want to thank you all for your activism. It's about time, and I'm glad that it's not just the larger cities like Tucson and Tempe. We're not as large as Tucson, but I'm glad it's also the small towns of Arizona that are getting on this, I won't say bandwagon, but it's been long overdue. I'm so proud that we're moving forward, and with that, I will definitely be voting yes. I'll be voting hell yes.
Councilmember Navarro, then Councilmember Keating.
Yeah, no, I think Councilmember Kuby really said it all. This is just a tremendous deal for us, tremendous deal for the city. It's part of our culture. It's part of what we do in Tempe. I'm very proud of our community. I'm very proud of this council, and definitely getting behind this. Thank you.
Councilmember Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, this microphone situation is a little awkward. I don't know if you guys can. Well, I'm touching it anyway, Robin. I'm sorry. This is one of those things that's obviously a no-brainer, and I'm very pleased to be in support of this resolution tonight. Unfortunately, we cannot compel the legislature to act, but we can, put a stamp on what our values are and what our city's values are. And obviously, equal rights is one of them. So I'm very pleased to be part of this resolution. I'm very pleased to be voting in favor of it, and I'm happy to be in the position to represent the city of Tempe as we do that. So I'll be voting yes tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Ardano Savage.
I just want to say thank you to you and the Vice Mayor for bringing this forward. I think it's really important. I think, like Councilmember Navarro said, this is who we are. This is Tempe. This is really about our culture and our values. And I, too, am very happy to be supporting this initiative tonight. And I really do appreciate everybody that's here in support also, too, because this really is the Tempe way.
Councilmember Adams.
Yes, just brief because my colleagues spoke so well, and I agree with everything they said tonight. And I just have been passionate about this issue since the 1980s, and I'm so glad to see you all here tonight. And I'm proud to vote yes for this initiative.
Councilmember Cheney.
I don't have additional words, except I will have the most important word, and that will be aye.
All right, with that, I'm going to call the names in the order which I received the cards. Steve, please come forward. State your name and place of residence for the record, please, Steve.
Thank you. My name is Steve Muratori. I live in Scottsdale, and I thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor Kuby, and council members for this opportunity. I want to say that it is my honor and pleasure to advocate for passage of the Equal Rights Amendment for me on behalf of my daughter and my granddaughter. I think the issue of personal sovereignty for all breathing humans is the moral issue of our time. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Mundis. Please state your name and place of residence for the record.
Good evening. My name is Kim Mundis. I'm a neighbor right next door in Chandler. So I'd first like to start off by saying thank you for this opportunity to speak in support of the Equal Rights Amendment. I'd also like to acknowledge that I stand on the shoulders of many giants who came before me to fight for this. So it's an honor to be able to keep fighting. I've timed it, it's about 2 minutes, so I'll be brief. My name is Kim Mundis, and I'm a board member of ERA Task Force Arizona. I am here as one of the 51% of United States citizens who are not currently afforded equal protections under the United States Constitution. We are your mothers, we are your daughters, we are your wives, your coworkers, your neighbors. I'm here asking you to use your authority to acknowledge and to right a most grievous wrong which relegates all women currently to second-class citizenship. Earlier this year, I helped to organize a 38-mile march designed to highlight Arizona's amazing opportunity to be the 38th and final state needed to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. We marched through Tempe, making sure to include the Sandra Day O'Connor House on our route. Sandra Day O'Connor, as you may know, was our nation's first female Supreme Court justice, and she was a vocal advocate for the ERA. What a tremendous honor it would be to her already storied legacy if her home state of Arizona were to be the state that put us over this finish line. History watched the Arizona State Legislature fail to ratify the ERA this session. History indeed watched and carefully recorded who stood up and where they stood. As the names lit up that board, those votes were cemented forever in history, as will be the votes cast tonight. It is no longer a question of whether the Equal Rights Amendment will be ratified. The only question remaining is which state will claim its place in history as the state which finally closed a shameful chapter in our American history. You have an opportunity tonight to establish yourselves as patriots who work towards the creation of a union where women are granted full constitutional protection. The ERA states equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. The ERA will be ratified. So before you cast your vote, I ask that you consider one simple question. If tonight becomes your last opportunity to ever vote on this issue, to have gone on permanent record supporting equality when given the chance, How would you like to be remembered? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Janet Archer. Janet Archer. And I'd like to remind the audience, you have up to 3 minutes or less.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Archer. I'm a resident of Tempe. I am here to urge the City Council to adopt a resolution urging the Arizona State Legislature to become the 38th state to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. We've attempted to reach our state lawmakers, and they've refused to engage in a discussion about whether it should even be brought up. Arizona could be the 38th state to ratify the ERA, and I think that scares some of them a lot. They don't understand that giving one group more rights does not take rights away from another group. I know that the city of Tempe can do better than the state legislatures. Thank you for choosing to take a stand. You are on the right side of history.
Thank you. Next, Bill Larry, please come forward. State your name and place of residence for the record.
Well, I'm Bill Lothridge. I live in the rural Geneva area, and to position of this resolution. It's not a city issue. It's a state issue. If you all have individual thoughts and ideas about supporting this, do it as individuals. That's great. I and others do not. So it just seems to be another one of these resolutions that doesn't really have the full support of all the city, although you have the majority that it seems here. But I do stand to say, please don't pass this.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have, that's 61. That's all the cards I have. With that, I now look to my council colleague.
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
It's been moved by Councilmember Adams. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Keating. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion passes 7-0. All right. Next item on our agenda is our non-consent agenda. All the items listed on the non-consent agenda will be considered separately. Agenda items scheduled for introduction and first public hearing will be heard, but will not be voted upon at this meeting. Agenda items scheduled for second public hearing and final adoption will be voted upon tonight. Item 6A1, miscellaneous items, bids, and contracts and resolutions. Item 6A1 is to approve the utilization of a one-year State of Arizona contract with GuideSoft Incorporated, DBA, as knowledge services for temporary staffing services. Are there any comments or discussion on item 6A1 from the council? If there's none, is there a motion on item 6A1?
Second.
Been moved by Councilmember Navarro, seconded by Councilmember Arellano Savage. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Item 6A2 is to award a 5-year contract with 1 5-year renewal options to Nationwide to provide retirement plan administration, record keeping, education, communications, investment related, and other related services for the 401k and the 557 and health reimbursement account and the HRA plans that are eligible for city employees and retirees. Is there any comments or discussion from the council on item 6A2? If not, is there a motion on item 6A2?
Make a motion.
It's been moved by Councilmember Adams, seconded by Councilmember Keating. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. The next section of the non-consent agenda is our ordinance and items for introduction and first hearing. These items will be read and introduced tonight, but no vote will be taken. The second hearing and vote for these items is scheduled for August 15th, 2019. Ordinance and items for introduction and first hearing, item 6B1, is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 1, Section 2-401 of the City of Tempe Code to include detention sergeants and the Tempe Officers Association as employee group. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for August 15th, 2019. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address us on this item? It is a public hearing item. Seeing none, I will close that portion. Any comments from council? Next item is item 6B2. It's to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance to transfer unencumbered budget appropriation from the city manager's office to the Internal Services Department for employee development. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for August 15, 2019. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address us on item 6B2? Could you please get my attention? Hearing none, look to my colleagues. Next item is item 6B3, to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the granting of the utility easement to the Arizona Public Service Company and the execution of the easement to facilitate the IDEA Tempe development at 100 West Rio Salado Parkway. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for August 15, 2019. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address us under item 6B3? Could you please get my attention? Seeing none, close that portion. Any comments from the council? Item 6B4 is the next item to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the granting of a utility easement to Southwest Gas Corporation for the natural gas pipelines and apparatuses and the execution of the easement to facilitate the IDEA Tempe development at 100 West Rio Salado Parkway. The second and final public hearing is for August 15, 2019. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address this? Could you please get my attention? Seeing none, any comments or discussions from the council? Next item is item 6B5, to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of the water and sewer line easements located at 5454 South Beck Avenue near the southeast corner of Baseline Road and Priest Drive. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for August 15, 2019. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address us under item 6B5? Seeing none. Any comments or discussion from the council? Next is item 6B6, to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance to transfer unencumbered budget appropriation from the Municipal Utilities Department to the Human Services Department for the Tempe Works Program. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for August 15, 2019. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address us? Could you please get my attention? Seeing none. The last item is item 6B7 of this section, is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of certain city-owned land and authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an amendment to the restated development agreement, one or more deeds, and other related documents with Eastline Land Ventures, LLC, with respect to the project for the constructed along Apache Boulevard from Smith Road to River Drive. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for August 15, 2019. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience looking to address us on this item? Could you please get my attention? Seeing none, look to my council colleagues. The next agenda item scheduled for second public hearing and final adoption will be considered now. These items were read and introduced on June 27, 2019, and votes will be taken tonight. Under ordinance and items for second hearing and final adoption, the first item is item 6C1, is to hold a second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a zoning map amendment planned area development overlay and approve the development plan review consisting of 13 new single-family residential units and a community center for the Tempe Micro Estates located at 1443 South Rita Lane. The applicant is Newtown Community Development Corporation. This is a public hearing. Would the applicant like to make a statement? I thought I saw Alan or Matt. Please come forward. You can have a chance to make a statement.
Sorry, Mayor, my name is Matthew Salander. I'm a resident of Tempe. I'm the architect for this project. I do not know whether or not you want us to present the design to this room. I understand that we gave you a presentation. I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, we have a statement from the head of Newtown.
That's fine. We can have a statement, and then we can let the public speak, and then we can come back if there's questions.
Okay, well, I would just, I'm Alan Carlson. I'm the Executive Director of Newtown Community Development Corporation, and I would just like to say on behalf of Newtown, the Newtown Board, and the clients that we serve, thank you for the support that you've provided for this project. The Community Land Trust was started in Tempe back in 2000, 2001 with help from the City of Tempe and Tempe staff. We have over 60 permanently affordable homes in Tempe now, and we're looking forward to completing this project and adding additional homes to our Community Land Trust. And I think that this project is another example of Tempe's leadership in supporting affordable housing and being innovative. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Alan. If you could indulge us for a second. Greg, can we make sure that can we show the presentation? Because this is something that needs to be celebrated, I think, and I don't think this was shown at the last council meeting. Matthew, if you could just kind of walk through a high-level scenario you have a clicker right there on the podium.
I do. All right. Okay.
Take away.
The development, this is the development site. It is in Tempe. It's right against the train tracks south of Apache and east of Rural. You can see it's an L-shaped site. A lot of single-family houses to the north and to the west. And to the east, there are a bunch of townhouses that are 2 stories and single-family houses that are also 2 stories. So what we are proposing to do is to add 13 housing units, of which a minimum of 51% of them will be affordable. All of them are 600 square feet. There is one unit that is ADA accessible and is all 1 story, but the other 12 units are all 2 stories, and there is also a 900 square foot community room that you can see on the left, upper left. All of the parking, one of the things that we really love about this project is that all of the parking is separated from the houses. So you park your car, you don't have to walk more than 150 feet, I think is the furthest walk, to get to any of the units. And then the center of the space, there's no roads, there's no cars, it's all just garden and food production. And these are the street views. The community center and ADA unit, which back onto each other, are on the top left. You can see these walls and gates that we have at the end of the street, but everything is very low. It's very welcoming. We have a wonderful array of landscape. This is the community room and ADA unit. The ADA unit is on the left side. The community room is on the right. A lot of glass, high ceilings, exposed structure, views of the gardens, large patios. And these are elevations of a typical unit, where we're utilizing multiple colored concrete fiber panels as a way to kind of create what one of the people at Newtown, David Cremy, calls urban camouflage. But it's actually based on a study of biophilic design and a pattern that you would find in nature. And the way that those work is that there's actually kind of a bonding of color between units. In between each of the units, there's a patio space, and that patio space gets kind of imbibed with one particular color so that people can take ownership of that in-between space that has a view to the center of the community. So again, 13 homes, 600 square feet. They'll all be ENERGY STAR certified. There's going to be a lot of areas for gardening. We'll have individual raised planters for people, including with ADA access. The common building has kitchen and laundry, and it has a big space where everybody can get together or throw parties. Like I said, at least 51% of the homes will be affordable. And that means earning less than 80% of area median income. And it'll be part of the Community Land Trust of Newtown, so it'll always be held as affordable in perpetuity. That's it.
Great. Thank you. Now, with that, this is a public hearing item, so is there anyone, I don't have any cards for this, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this item? Could you please get my attention? Yes, please come forward. State your name and place of residence for the record.
My name is Jeff Hansen. I have 1439 East Cedar, but I've lived on Rita Lane off and on for a long time, and I think it's a great project. It's been it's pretty empty space for a long time, but the only thing I would say, both Rita Lane and Bonarden are both very narrow streets, And there's a couple more projects going in. And so I would just like the traffic engineers to look at the new project that's going to be on the very end of Spence and Rita, and they're planning on emptying it out onto Rita. But it's just such a narrow street that it would be nice if they would look at that one more time. But I totally approve of this project. I think it's a great idea, especially being affordable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience wanting to address us on this item? If not, this item we have to have 2 votes. So without any more discussion, I look to my colleagues. The first vote is going to be a zoning map amendment and a planned area development overlay. So I look for a motion on the ordinance for a zoning map amendment and a planned area development overlay. What's that?
Second.
Ask it already. Do anyone want to discuss this? Lauren?
I just want to make one quick point. I know that Newtown was successful, I think, in over $2 million worth of grants, I believe, and including one from the Mother Earth Foundation to make the units as energy efficient as possible. I know School of Sustainability students have been working on this program, and they've actually are going to be planning a seminar on how to do small affordable developments in Arizona. And that's another, teaching opportunity, educational opportunity that came from this project. So thank you very much. I also want to thank David Shapira, former council member, and former Vice Mayor Corey Woods for their involvement in this project, which began many years ago. And want to reiterate that EPICS, Engineering Projects in Community Service, an ASU program, came to the council with this idea originally. And so thank you so much for ASU and the spark that you give our city. That's all I want to say.
With that, is there a motion for a ordinance for a zoning map amendment and a planned area overlay? It's been moved by Vice Mayor Kuby, seconded by Councilmember Adams. For those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. That motion and the first vote passes 7-0. We have another vote that we need to take. It's on the development plan review. Is there a motion on the development plan review?
Motion.
It's moved by Councilmember Adams. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Navarro. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, that motion passes 7-0. The next item on this section is item 62.
Mayor Mitchell and council members, I just want to say thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you at the groundbreaking in December or January. Thank you.
Be there.
Thank you. The next item is item 62, so hold a second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending the City Code, Tempe Administrative Code 1, Section 8-104.10, Section 8-104.11, Section 8-105.1.3.2, Section 8-105.1.4, Section 8-105.1.5.5, Section 8-105.3.2, and Section 8-109.7 for consistent language in the reference to Appendix A, the schedule of fees and charges in Section A-109.1, adding new sections to the amendment of fees and the adjustment of fees. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience willing to address us under item 62? Could you please get my attention? Seeing none, I look for any comments or discussion from the council or a motion on item 62.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Keating, seconded by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. That motion passes 7-0. The next item on this section is 6C3. Is to hold a second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance to amend Chapter 21, Section 3B19 of the Tempe City Code relating to enumerated violations, decreasing the required number of witnesses for a barking dog complaint from 3 to 2. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address us under item 6C3? Could you please get my attention? Yes, Bill?
I'm Bill Lothridge. I live in the rural Geneva area. I hadn't really thought about this until last time, and I see now that I didn't realize you had another opportunity to speak to it. I think the original plan to have 3 persons complain about barking dogs requires that you have more than a husband and wife who has a fight with their next door neighbor about their barking chihuahua or whatever it happens to be. By having that third person involved, you have to have a consensus in the neighborhood, I would think, unless the family that is complaining happens to have 3 people in their household. Barking dogs are a nuisance. There's no question about it. I don't like my dog to bark. I don't let him bark. My neighbors are the same. Every once in a while, we do have barking dogs. But this could become a problem if you allow a family to bring somebody to your court just because they have a neighbor dispute about any one of a number of things, maybe not having anything to do with a barking dog. So I would encourage you to leave the resolution or the statute as it is and require, you have to have then consensus in a neighborhood when somebody has what they are now complaining about in terms of barking dogs.
Thank you, Bill.
Eric, can I just?
Yes, Councilmember Keating.
I just want to clarify it's not one household. It's not a husband and a wife as 2 people. It's 2 different addresses. So it would be 2 separate households, no matter how many people are living in that household. Just want to seem to be confused on that.
It's not in, it's
Actually, in the ordinance.
it's in the ordinance.
That's not legal language.
So, Bill, that doesn't conduce, so it has to be more than one household. Okay, is anyone else in the audience wishing to address us under item 6C3? Seeing none, look at my council colleagues, any comments or discussion on 6C3? Councilmember Keating?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank Vice Mayor Kuby and Councilmember Adams for their help in this. I actually met with a resident. He asked me not to say his name because he fears retaliation from his neighbor. And I was going to scan and bring in these letters that he had sent, but turns out my printer scanner not only doesn't print, it doesn't scan either. So I didn't go to work today because of my AC situation. I was going to scan it at work, try to scan it at home, didn't work. Anyway, this stuff's very compelling because he sent multiple certified mail pieces to his neighbor, and they get increasingly more desperate. He's using words like plead, like I'm pleading with you to please bring your dog inside. It was barking till 11:45 p.m. last night. He had other neighbors do the same. He has copies of all. The guy must have been, some sort of archivist because he has copies of all these things that he did. He kept he had trouble getting 3 signatures, not because it was a problem. He actually, another slide that I don't have, but I will produce because it does exist, I assure you all, was all these neighbors that he had talked to that agreed that it was a problem, but they were afraid of this other neighbor. Apparently, this other neighbor had a history of, being threatening, just kind of being a jerk. So they didn't want to sign on, He asked the city for an exemption. City said no. So he kept a log for 166 days.
Oh my gosh.
160, and this is an Excel sheet, which again, I do have. And we'll get it scanned at City Hall, and I'll send it to all of my colleagues. And, in it, dog starts barking at this time, stops at this time, stops at this time, stops at this time. Some of them are bolded in red. I said, well, what are these ones in red? I said, that's the times when I put on my headphones. Like, oh, what do you mean? The guy went out and bought headphones that people use at shooting ranges so he could sleep at night, which, of course, is a whole other danger if his fire alarm went off and all that. So he eventually did get the 3 signatures. It went on, like 166 days. He got that 3rd signature, went through that process, and then he couldn't get his neighbors to then go to court because they were so afraid of this man. And once they got the original complaint, he started having rocks thrown in his pool. And that doesn't sound like a big deal, right? My dog kicks rocks in my pool all the time. And this guy actually kept all the rocks in a baggie with the date on them. Like, seriously, the dude must have been an archivist. So he pulled out, like, all this box was full of rocks and little bags. And there's maybe a dozen rocks. Another bag had a couple dozen rocks. Here's the date, Councilman Keating. This is when this happened. And this is a problem, and I know it's a problem because my dog kicks rocks in the pool all the time. It breaks your pool skimmer, and those things are expensive. I mean, they're like $600 for molded plastic. So that's a whole racket too, which we're not talking about today. But anyway, I really appreciated, his perspective on this, and he was so grateful that we were making the process a little bit easier for him and his neighbors, and he's confident now he can do something. Because this dude, had it. He lived in that area. for 37 years. And he served at the city of Tempe on several different boards and commissions. And he was just thrilled that this was something that we were looking at, because he had been dealing with this forever. To keep a log for 166 days, only to then be denied, an appeal, has to be pretty frustrating. So I'm very pleased that we're bringing this forward and we're voting on it tonight. And I just wanted to tell that story. And I'm sorry again that I don't have the examples of the letters, but I blame my AC unit number 1 and my printer scanner number 2. Thank you.
Yes, Vice Mayor
I just want to
Kuby.
say
Sorry.
real quick that another thing, in addition to decreasing the required number of witnesses from 3 to 2, it also requires that only one resident go to court, and so that would solve that gentleman's issue. But thanks so much for your leadership on this, Randy. Really appreciate that.
Yes, and I want to second that. And also, one of the number one things that neighbors fight about is barking dogs. So those of you, I'm sure most of you have experienced the barking dogs next door, and I think this will really solve the process much quicker and lower the tension in the neighborhoods. So thank you.
Mayor, I move we approve item 6C3.
Second it.
It's been moved by Councilmember Keating and seconded by Councilmember Adams. Before we do that, though, I need clarification from our legal. We need to take, in order for us to make changes to this, don't we have to take?
Mayor, you're free to take the vote on this item.
Okay, that's what I was checking. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion does pass. We did. Bill spoke.
All right. You're right.
All right, next item on our agenda is item 6C4, is to hold a second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance repealing Chapter 7, bicycles and light motorized vehicles from the Tempe City Code. Initial public hearing was held on June 6, 2019, but due to substantive changes made to the ordinance, number 02019.22, since that hearing, a first public hearing was held again on June 27, 2019. This is a public hearing item. I believe.
Excuse me, Mayor. At the request of staff, would it be possible to take these items out of order so we would have 65 first?
That's right. Okay. So we're going to have to go to 65 first before we look at 64. So we're going to jump to 65 and we'll come back to 64. So 65 is to hold a second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending and expanding Chapter 19, the Tempe City Code concerning motor vehicles and multimodal traffic. Initial public hearing was held on June 6, 2019, but due to substantial changes made to the ordinance since that hearing, a first hearing was held again on June 27, 2019. This is a public hearing item. I do have some cards on item 65. I will call those names first. And first is Jeff Caslake. Come on down, Jeff. Please state your name and place of residence for the record.
Hi, I'm Jeff Caslake, and I live near 16th Street and Hardy Drive. I'm calling or speaking. Thank you for letting me speak to you. I've talked to you about my hesitation with mandatory helmet use and outlawing sidewalk riding in neighborhoods. And I've emailed you about it, and thanks for all the typographical corrections to Chapter 19. One thing that I would like to add or highlight from my email is it would be really pleasant to have a bike lane southbound on Mill Avenue from University Drive to 13th Street, or Avenue. We presently have one northbound on Mill Avenue, but nothing southbound. I know the traffic engineer has plans that were supposed to be implemented with the streetcar project to add a bike lane southbound. I don't know that that's actually going to come to pass. So if you could support the traffic engineer's plans and add two-way multimodal capability on Mill Avenue, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Bartell, come on down. Good to see you again. See, I never left the library. I'm just kidding.
What's that?
name is Steve Bartell, resident of Tempe. Yes, I'm back again. Safety is my thing. And I wanted to just make a note, and I think it's in your ordinances now, that the state statute, ARS 101.73, sidewalk for use of pedestrians.
Speak up a little bit. Can you speak up a little bit for us?
Okay. Did you hear everything I said so far?
I didn't.
Okay. State statute ARS 101.73, sidewalks are intended for the use of pedestrians. That's what it says. So there's a couple of things that I want to mention. There's nothing in the ordinance referencing the state statute, which says that there needs to be a unique ID for every e-scooter type of vehicle that's visible from at least 5 feet. That's for safety. So when somebody hits you, which happens, you can at least see them and see some kind of ID 5 feet, visible at 5 feet. And I'm not sure if that's there. I don't think it's there. As I walk by these, I don't see any kind of ID, and I'm asking that to confirm that this will be enforced, that this state statute would be enforced. So I'm asking for that today. And then referencing the state statutes, e-scooters and other non-human powered vehicles will not exceed 20 miles an hour on streets, bike lanes, or any of the sidewalks where they're allowed now to travel in Tempe. This will probably be self-enforced because these e-scooters and these things don't travel, I think, over 15 miles an hour. However, if you purchase your own individual e-scooter type of vehicle, it can travel up to 40 miles an hour. And so I'm asking for that confirmation that this speed limit by state statute will be enforced by the city of Tempe, 20 miles an hour. And that's it. I think that's all I have. And if I can get that confirmation, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bartel. I do believe that there's ID numbers on the scooters from the companies. I think that's part of it's in our license agreement on that
I'm
part.
just not sure they're visible from 5 feet away. If you get hit by one,
right?
You know, you have a chance, like a license plate on a car. You have a shot at being able to identify.
Okay. Thank you.
So, okay.
Next is Cliff Anderson.
Hi, my name is Cliff Anderson, and I'm in the Brentwood Cavalier neighborhood, resident of Tempe. I'm here today to talk about the bicycling aspects of this proposed ordinance. And first of all, I want to thank you for your interest in bicycle safety.
Cliff, can you speak up a little bit louder for us?
I'm very interested in, I'm happy that you guys, is there a problem with the microphone?
Actually, this is the microphone.
Oh, don't be fooled by the thing that looks like a mic. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm happy that you are addressing bicycle safety, and I'm glad also that you're addressing scooters because they need to have a legal framework for operation. So I have sent some emails to City Council. I haven't received an awful lot back, and so I'm struggling to understand what exactly it is, what problem you're trying to solve with respect to human-powered bicycles. So I understand the scooter thing, that's one thing, but you have lumped together bicycles and scooters on some of these new restrictions for bicycles, and I don't understand why that's happening. So one of the emails that I sent to council on the subject has to do with the survey, which I think forms a pretty substantial basis for your decision to proceed with this new restriction. And I'm going to just summarize that quickly here. So a survey is conducted by the City of Tempe about the proposed amendment. There are numerous problems with the survey. An analysis of comments reveals a bias against bicycle rights and provides a correction for it. After adjusting for bias, the majority opinion is actually against the proposed restriction for human-powered bicyclists. It's not to mean that's true for scooters, but for bicyclists. As a result, the status quo with respect to human-powered bicycles operational on sidewalks should be preserved. The proposed ordinance, specifically 19212D, should be revised to exclude new restrictions relating to operators of human-powered bicycles. So the other thing I want to comment, and I have a certificate, graduate certificate in statistics, so I think I'm somewhat qualified to talk about this, is I think there's been some concern or interest in scholarly papers that talk about safety of bicycles operating on sidewalks. And I just wanted to point out that there are papers out there that show basically no difference between bicycle riding on the sidewalk and on the road. There's one really good study back in 1994, and I can provide those references, that shows that it depends, right? So if the bicyclists are riding with traffic, then it's actually safer on the sidewalk than it is on the street. And if they're riding against traffic, then it's less safe to be on the sidewalk. So I'd be very careful about your interpretation of the statistics, both with respect to the survey and with respect to these scholarly articles regarding that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That's all the cards I have for item 6C5. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address this item 6C5? Okay, I'm going to close that portion. You know, I want to, as a member of the working group, a lot of our conversations have revolved around creating a safe environment for all sidewalk as well as road users. The recommendations coming forward are all part of a larger plan that we're looking at with Vision Zero initiative. We are the first city in the state to have such a plan. If you looked at the headline today in Arizona Republic, it's quite evident. It says, I actually brought it, believe it or not.
Props. He has props.
The headline says that the streets in Phoenix turn even deadlier. That's the headline on the front page of the Arizona Republic. And it states how we, as the city of Tempe, are the first city in the valley to pass a Vision Zero initiative. And this is a working document. We're dealing with a lot of unknowns with the scooters and so forth that are not in state statute. So this is something that we're working with all of you, and we've had a lot of different working groups. Our goal really is to limit the serious injuries and the fatal accidents to zero. That's the whole point of the Vision Zero initiative. And we have took a look at pedestrians, avid bike riders, the casual bike riders, scooter riders, motorists. And we know that everyone has a different cover level and experience on bikes and scooters, so we wanted to create the most good to the most amount of people in our community. And I got to tell you, looking at the data, we know that some of the top factors for bicycle crashes are those including going against the flow of traffic and failing to yield the right of way, and motorists, exiting driveways. The data does show that information that we looked at with this group, and that we took out to the public for about 7+ meetings with public feedback and input. And if you've been out and about in Tempe, you'll see that scooter riders really follow zero traffic laws, which is why this is one of the #1 priorities for us as it relates to this initiative, that we must get some language in the code to regulate scooter riders before school comes back with Arizona State University. It's something that we take very seriously. We care about our residents. We care about people visiting our community. So this is just part of what we're looking at. And right now, I want to look to my council colleagues. I think, Arlene Chen, you wanted to say something? Or Randy Keating?
Thank you, Councilmember Chen. Yeah, I was on this working group as well, and I want to thank you, Mayor, and Councilmember Navarro for our collaboration on this. Ultimately, kind of echo what you were saying, Mayor, is we're looking to create a safer environment for these different modes of transportations, not just people that are driving in cars, but it's important that people that are biking and riding scooters are also operating safely in the city of Tempe. And it was a very robust process. I mean, we started this working group over a year ago, and I can't even tell you how many times we met, how many times we went back to the drawing board. We had a room full of stakeholders from ASU to PD to advocacy groups. We had 2 first reads on this even, because we made so many changes based on the public feedback that we got. I went to the Transportation Commission twice to get feedback because of the changes that we were making. So, I want to thank Cliff and Jeff and everyone else who has spoken out and helped us make a better ordinance with this. And this was intended to be at first the scooters, but we found when we were kind of consolidating these codes and writing these laws that it made sense to do a little bit of tweaking on the bikes as well, because we had to change the way we talk about these things. We didn't have a mechanism, we didn't have the language to regulate the scooters in our existing codes. So that's why there are some areas where bikes did get lumped into what was originally intended to be really kind of a scooter-centric ordinance. And I've committed, and the working group is committed, that we are going to take a deeper look at how we can improve bicycle safety even further as we move forward, because we're going to continue to add bike lanes, we're going to continue to add bike infrastructure, and it's important that we have that culture of safety starting at a young age. So I'm very pleased with the way this has turned out. It's been a slog. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat that, but I'm very happy that we've gotten to this point. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who participated in that process. This was by far and away the most robust and in-depth working group that I've been a part of in my 3 years, just over 3 years on this council. Thank you.
Councilman Navarro.
You want to go first? You guys are up.
Well, Mayor, I have 2 amendments to the proposed ordinance. So I don't know if you want comments first, or do you want my amendments?
Well, let's go ahead and go ahead and comment first, and then we'll come back to the amendment. I'll go back to you. Okay, Councilman Navarro. Yes, Councilman Navarro.
Okay.
And then Councilmember Adams.
No, I just want to, being part of this group and what Councilmember Keating said is we did try to take a thorough look, and obviously, the number one issue was the scooters. Really, we started out with bikes, and then those went away, then the scooters, and now they're here, and who knows what's next down the road. The long and short of it is, we saw an over-concern of violations that were happening through and out the city. And the emails were honestly nonstop about the issues and about the cluttering of it. So as a city that is trying to, be part of the initiative to being net zero and really trying to advocate for multimodal of transportation, we are trying to do things that are hopefully going to make sense. I'm going to be frank, obviously we're not going to have an officer on every corner monitoring every single action that's going to happen. But the thing is, though, we have to have some sort of standards and some sort of rules when a violation does happen. When we talk about speeds, we talk about the possibilities of scooters going 40 miles an hour. Sure, there's a thing called when speed is not narrowly going to be, is he going that or is he going this? And we can't really judge that, by our eyes. It comes down to recklessness. It comes down to a course of recklessness with whatever mode you're using. That's going to be the number one thing that's going to really get an officer involved or have a situation where we're going to have to follow through a report. So long and short of it is, as we go through these phases, as we go through what we're seeing as this city starting to make changes, we're going to have to probably make changes to the code again to take another look at it. I think that within this working group, we acknowledge the fact that, and going through this process, that there's tweaks, there was key words that needed to be said properly. There's state law that's going to obviously trump what we do, and we have to follow the state law too on top of that. So we're trying to be mindful as best we can, crafting this language. We're not going to be perfect, but I think we're getting at a point right now to where we're going to make some good decisions. When we talk about, I've heard this from the South Tempe community. You want me to ride on a McClintock Avenue with my kids? I wouldn't do that, and I'm not going to advocate for that. I probably would advocate for is at least ride responsibly, ride with the direction of traffic, ride appropriately, so you're not going to put your kids in jeopardy. And those things are common sense. I don't think this city is out to make those types of busts. That's not something that we're going to be advocating for. We're going to be advocating for education, which is the number one thing out of this whole thing that's coming up, is educating people how to be respectful within the city, educate people how to utilize new technology within the city. We want to be respectful. And long and short of it is, we need to really put our efforts toward that. There's going to be a campaign with this as this goes forward, and the number one part is, with our officers, is they are going to be educating people. They are going to be giving them warnings and talking to them about what is safe and what is not safe. Long and short, being a firefighter, seeing these accidents over and over again, people get killed on these things. They're dangerous, but they are here, and they're here in every city. We can't control in every individual's actions, but we try to educate as best we can. That's the best we can do. So we'll take a look at this. We have an opportunity to recraft this if needed, but wholeheartedly, I think we're getting there, and I appreciate everyone's concern for this, and I appreciate the support for this, and thank you.
Councilmember Chin. Or Councilmember Adams and Councilmember Chin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am very supportive of Vision Zero, and I'm also impressed with the working group. They did a great job related to the situation. I think the changes related to scooters are excellent, and they have my support also. I am concerned about the bicycles. I don't believe the bicycle issue should be one size fits all. I believe it'd be better to take a closer look at what we need in the dense areas versus the less dense areas in the city. I want to also point out that the speeds vary greatly from one area to another. I have heard from a large number of residents that do not want to ride in the bike lanes with their children. As a result, I'm asking that we really examine that further and wait to make that decision tonight.
Councilmember Chin.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, I'd like to express appreciation on all of the work by the working group on this, tackling this very large, complex issue. With that, I have two amendments to the proposed ordinance. I don't know if you're prepared for me to read that. Okay. Section 19-212, it would be the letter F as in Frank then. With the consent of a parent or guardian, minors may operate human-powered vehicles, bicycles, and electric personal assistive mobility devices on a sidewalk adjacent to streets with speed limits of 25 miles per hour or lesser at all times, and on a sidewalk adjacent to a street where no bike lane is available and where the speed limit is greater than 25 miles per hour. That's the First Amendment. The second one is Section 19-213C, as in chin. On a sidewalk, a person operating a non-human powered vehicle must yield the right-of-way to any pedestrian, human-powered vehicle, or electric personal assistive mobility device.
What's the change? What's the change in that section?
Those are amendments to the existing ordinance.
To the existing one.
To the proposed
And
ordinance.
it goes to some comments made by council that we've heard, Councilmember Adams just mentioned, but that, we've heard, and we've talked to some of the residents in South Tempe about the sidewalks, and I think that addresses those concerns. With that, though, I think that is a major amendment. I'm going to look to Ms. Baumann. If we took those resolutions, let it be known that we cannot move forward tonight with this. We have to come back and have another hearing on August 15th.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. That would be my recommendation. Chapter 212B3 of our charter requires that if an ordinance is amended as to a matter of substance, that it needs to go through the procedure again. So the hearing would be held, the final hearing would be held August 15.
Okay, so there's been a recommendation with the amendments read by Councilmember Chin. Is there a second to those amendments? So then we come back to.
Do a second. So do you guys see just come?
Yeah, I'm not done. I'm still getting input. So there's that information. If we do decide to move forward with that amendment, if there's a first and there's a second, then we'll have to go from there. But before we do that, I'm going to ask Vice Mayor Kuby. She would like to have a comment.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I was wondering, we're going to not decide this in August. Is it possible for staff to sort of print up the top sort of aspects of the changes in the ordinance so it can be understood? I think we need to make it a little bit more accessible because it's so complex and detailed, and I think it would be good to say what this really means and what this will do, this ordinance will do.
So if there's a motion, if there's a second, we would have to print that information up, and there'd be another hearing, a final hearing of what was just stated, and it would be written. I think we should have that available to the public as well, is what I'm hearing.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Keating?
Yeah, I would just like to make a comment. I'm not happy about having to kick the can down the road yet again, but yeah, I'm happy. The amendment's fine if it makes other council members more comfortable with this. But I mean, really, the point of the working group was, safety, right? And all due respect, Cliff, I'm not a statistician, but I mean, all the data that I've ever seen says that it's substantially more dangerous to be on the sidewalk. So, I mean, to me, it's more about creating a culture of safety, training the youth how to navigate the roads, how to use their hand signals, and not really just having, a cop-out and, taking the sidewalk, which I think, as far as I know, everyone in this council would agree is demonstrably more dangerous. So, look, the amendment's fine. I mean, if we're going to do that, I think we need to acknowledge that we're doing that. We're sacrificing safety for that. So I'm not going to sit here and vote against it. I'm more upset that we have to kick the can down the road, frankly. I was happy to accept the amendment and get this thing done. But if we're not going to get it done, I just wanted to say that, the point of this working group was safety, not advocacy. And unfortunately, I think we've lost our way a little bit in that regard. So I move we approve the amendment.
Okay. Councilmember Chin, so there's a motion for the amendment, and then there's a second. Councilmember Chin?
May I comment?
Yes.
In response? Absolutely. It's not, the amendments are not simply for advocacy. It is always about safety, but when we speak of minors learning to ride the bike and there's an available sidewalk, ultimately we want to encourage bicycling also in a safe manner that's comfortable for families. That's the intent of the amendment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that.
In support of the ordinance,
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
I don't disagree with that, but I mean, I'm just saying it is a fact that being on the sidewalk is more dangerous, and that is a fact, and that's all I wanted to say. Like, I'm fine with your amendment, and again, I'm more upset that we have to wait to vote on this, but that's why this idea came in the first place, and that's why we spend all this money putting in bike lanes. That's how we're spending millions of dollars to expand McClintock, because the ride on the sidewalk is just so inherently dangerous. So I mean, that's why, and I understand the South Tempe argument. I think the idea that a 3-year-old riding a tricycle on the sidewalk is going to get cited by PD is not realistic. And you didn't say that, but I heard some of that stuff with the conversation that I had this morning. But I just wanted to express what the vision or what the purpose of the working group was, and I do think we're kind of moving away from that. But again, I'm going to support the amendment because I want this ordinance to pass.
Councilmember Adams?
Yes. Anytime we have an inclusive process, it always takes more time. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. The residents have been communicating with us their concerns, and I think that we really need to make a thorough judgment of the situation and move forward in a safe manner. And I know that it does mean another month of waiting to get this done, but I really want to have a great project in the first place instead of having to amend it over and over again. So I know it takes a little bit more time, but I think it's worth it to have a great product.
Okay. So there's been a motion and there's been a second. Any other comment or discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the amendment to the ordinance as read by Councilmember Chin, would you like to repeat that, please?
Sure. Section 19-212F, with the consent of a parent or guardian, minors may operate human-powered vehicles, bicycles, and electric personal assistive mobility devices on a sidewalk adjacent to streets with speed limits of 25 miles per hour or lesser at all times, and on a sidewalk adjacent to a street where no bike lane is available and where speed limits are greater than 25 miles an hour. Section 19-213C, on a sidewalk, a person operating a non-human powered vehicle must yield the right-of-way to any pedestrian, human-powered vehicle, or electric personal assistive mobility device.
Okay. So we have what has been read, and I got to tell you, as part of the Vision Zero initiative, we will be thinking of creative education opportunities, as Councilmember Keating mentioned earlier, with this initiative to help both parents as well as youth to really understand the safest places to ride a bike. And we're going to need everybody's help with that. I mean, this is something that, we're doing some things that are completely different from state law that are not even in state statute when regarding scooters and other mobility devices. So this is something that I think it's a work in progress. I think we're going to be continuing to look at this. And I think I want to thank all the stakeholders that have been involved. And as you heard earlier, I mean, we've had so much input from stakeholders, from the Tempe Bicycle Action Group, and a lot of the input that we received has resulted into the changes and the delays of the ordinance that we're looking at. And I want to thank everybody for being involved and contributing, because we did listen, we heard, we implemented a lot of the suggestions that we heard, and I think it speaks volumes. So with that, let's go ahead.
One question. With Councilmember Chen, what she just read, so I'm clear, and forgive me if I'm splitting hairs, but you said with parent permission, a child can ride on the sidewalk. We're saying a family, not just, so I'm telling my kids, hey, go to the store, make sure you stand on the sidewalk, you got permission. I'm talking, I have a family, I'm telling my kids to ride on the sidewalk, but I'm technically involved. With what you're saying is the group is in permission to do that. So I know I'm splitting hairs here, but I just want to make it sound like your kids can ride on the sidewalk, you get on the bike lane. You see what I'm saying? So I just want to make sure, and I don't know if that has to be stated some other way or not, but we've been going through this process for so long, and so many people have been like coming up with, you said this and you said that, but I just want to make sure if we have to reflect it somehow, some way, maybe we have to do that, but if it's going to incorporate all that kind of what I'm thinking it's saying, sometimes it's not so easy to, even though it's said a certain way, we're obviously saying something else, but we might have to say it specifically, I guess, if that makes sense. And that's going to be up to the council to decide if I'm offline or not.
Randy?
I think that makes sense, and that was actually something I was going to suggest as an addition before I got all mad about the other thing. So I forgot. But yeah, I mean, obviously, the parent should be included in that as well. So, the parent wants to ride on the sidewalk, which is much more dangerous. They should be able to do that as well. So I don't know, however, Councilmember Chen needs to, if we can just say that, and then the staff will throw that in there, if we have to change the way that she said it, or, I'm not sure how that works.
Councilmember Chen.
So the amendment was directly supporting Section 19212D, where it reads, a person may operate a bicycle, electric bicycle, or non-human powered vehicle upon a sidewalk where no bike lane is available and where the speed limit, wait, that's not where it is. Attorney Bauman, that is basically part of the ordinance as it reads, as written and proposed. It is dictating that people must use the bike lane and not the sidewalk when there is a bike lane available. Everyone, even children. So my amendment that I've proposed allows for children to ride on the sidewalk in the event that it's near a street, adjacent to a street that's 25 miles an hour and higher or lower.
So the permission you're saying is for minors only?
I think.
Yes, a point of clarification, Mayor, members of the council. So as proposed, my understanding is the amendment applies to minors. If I'm understanding Councilmember Navarro and Councilmember Keating, we could amend the proposed language to include minors and their parents or guardians. Would that be sufficient? Is that
that's what I'm trying to get to, because I don't want to, because words matter on this whole thing.
Absolutely.
So I just want to be clear about it.
So, not to complicate it further, but then you're saying parents and their guardians anytime, or only when there were the children? It's just, that's confusing.
No, it sounds, so what I'm trying to get to,
specific.
it could be the youth, okay, go to the store. It could be, I'm with my family.
Right.
So it has to have the language to say minors or minors with parents or guardians. There's something to reflect that.
Minors, with
If I may,
parents
it could
accompanying the
read, minors accompanied by their parent or guardian. May,
Would and or be sufficient?
parent or guardian.
Councilman Keating?
Just one real quick thing. I just want to reiterate what a robust and long and public process this was. We actually have 2 new council members from when this working group even started. So, there has been several public meetings, Transportation Commission meetings, online forums. Mr. Bartel, I mean, come on, man. I mean, when was that? When did we start talking? Right, there's been a lot of meetings. So, I'm glad we're moving this forward for August, but I just want to, again, stress that what a complicated and robust process this was from day one. So that's all I wanted to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I need to have the intent of the amendment repeated.
The
This has
intent?
changed.
The intent, though.
Okay, the
Because it's
intent
the language that
only
we're looking at.
is that minors accompanied by a parent or guardian can ride on the sidewalk.
Well,
Minors.
they don't have to be accompanied by a parent. They could be, if they're going to school and they have the permission of their parents.
Accompanied by or with the consent of.
Right, that's good.
Okay. Councilman Keating, you good with that?
Yeah, it's clear as mud, Mayor. Thank you.
There's been an amendment to the amendment to the amendment.
What I'm saying, can we sit that in the clause?
Is there a new motion perhaps on the amendment as proposed, as last proposed?
Okay, first, I think you need to withdraw the original motion and start over.
Withdrawn.
You okay with withdrawing the original one so we can restate it? Yes.
Yes, Mayor, I withdraw my original
Okay.
thing.
Councilmember Chin.
I have a new amendment. Read the whole thing. Is
Yep.
that what? Okay. Section 19-212F. When accompanied by or with the consent of a parent or guardian,
Beautiful.
minors may operate human-powered vehicles, bicycles, and electric personal assistive mobility devices on a sidewalk adjacent to streets with speed limits of 25 miles per hour or lesser at all times, and on a sidewalk adjacent to a street where no bike lane is available and where the speed limit is greater than 25 miles per hour. The second part, section 19-213C, on a sidewalk, a person operating a non-human powered vehicle must yield the right-of-way to any pedestrian, human-powered vehicle, or electric personal assistive mobility device.
Could also add the
Okay.
horses.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Keating. All right, all those in favor with the amendment, please say aye.
In favor of the amendment, no, with the amendment.
With the amendment.
You said all those in favor of the amendment or with the amendment? Because that's,
All in favor of the amendment that was stated,
right. Okay.
please say aye.
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 Are those opposed? Say nay. That motion passes 7-0. Now, with that passing 7-0, we cannot take item 6C4, is that correct?
Mayor and council, we would ask that item 64 also be postponed to the August 15th meeting. We don't want to have one chapter of the code repealed and not incorporated into another chapter of the code.
So that will take care of item 6C4. All right. Are we clear? Crystal. All right. With that, I now look to current events and council announcements. Councilmember Keating.
Yeah, we have let's talk about bikes and dogs some more. We actually have another meeting before. I have nothing, Mayor. I'll do our thing next time. The 15th.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Just really quick, I really wanted to say, I know Jenny is not here, but, 37 years with the city of Tempe is pretty remarkable. And Jenny Belusik, if you don't know her, is a really remarkable person. And not only is she a really wonderful human being, but it's certainly made her impact on probably many of you that are here in this room, and including myself, but our Tempe family, but this Tempe community. And it wouldn't be the same without her. So she is greatly going to be missed, and but I'm super happy for her and her future. She's going to be great. So looking forward to seeing her tomorrow. And then just really quick, I just wanted to show a photo here from Camp Challenge. I don't think any of us had the opportunity to go, but I did, and it was really great. One of the things that this council has done is actually allocated some more dollars to our Tempe's Adaptive Rec program, and I just wanted to show you the impact that we're really making on a lot of these kids that are within our community. And this summer they served 81 kids. The next summer they're going to be able to serve 91 kids. And not only with the summer program, Camp Challenge, for those of you that don't know, this is actually from the talent show that they did at the end of the year, which was a lot of fun, and they did a lot of really cool things. And they learned a lot of really great stuff at camp, arts, life skills, cooking. Was kind of something new that they introduced this year. And then also, I think it's really nice to know that our LEAP After School program, which stands for Life Skills Enrichment After School program, with the funding that we've given her, is actually going to be able to increase their numbers. And another really cool thing is they're actually going to have a home. Right now they've been kind of off-site year after year, usually sometimes a different site, but they're actually going to be now at the Westside Multi-Gen Center. And I always think one of the things that we always worry about is our facilities and how packed we are in a lot of things that we do, and I know this isn't a permanent home, but I think it's going to be really great for them, because I think someday maybe they will have a permanent home, and I think that'll be really great, something for us to look forward to and hopefully put on the radar really soon. So just a great shout out to all those people. And Greg didn't tell me, but Greg Wolf over here, actually his daughter was working at Camp Challenge. So really, really cool. Not only was she a volunteer for many years, but actually now she was an employee this last summer, just turning 18. So this is just something that's really good, and I think that there's so many youth that we're impacting and their families in such a positive way, and I thought it was just great to be able to share that with the council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Navarro.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, Jenny. She's been just a tremendous part of the city. With a lot of the diversity stuff, with a lot of the programs we do for the city, with a lot of the culture that we provide here within the city. And Rosa, you've been part of that too, so it kind of goes hand in hand almost. But Jenny has been just a real winner for us. She's just a vast, just a big group of knowledge of what is going on within the city, and really helping us out and helping our community out. So she will be missed. But she should enjoy whatever else she gets into. Last thing I want to say is congratulations to my wife. She beats cancer. So she officially found out there's no more spread, and I can't tell you how hard that is for her, but it was tough, and she was a champ, and very proud of her.
Yay. Vice Mayor Kuby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last month, or this month, a City of Tempe staffer received a really prestigious award that reflects not just on the staff member, but on our city for encouraging his leadership. The Center for the Future of Arizona awards 3 categories every year, and they chose Dr. Braden Kay, our Director of Sustainability, to be the emerging leader in Arizona. It's incredibly prestigious, and it recognizes his inaugural work in creating the Office of Sustainability, and his compassion and his commitment to the civic health and to community connections. We're so proud to know you, Braden, so proud of what you've done and accomplished in our city, and look forward to even more accomplishments. Thank you so much. And next, I just wanted to also add about Jenny Belusik and what she's meant to the city. And she thinks I named my new dog after her, Jenny, but I'd like to keep up that ruse, that I honor her that way. But Jenny, you've done so much to promote inclusion in our city, and you are just the go-to person for so many people and so many nonprofits and social justice organizations. I don't know what we're going to do without you, and I can hardly believe you've worked here for as many years as you have, because you're so young in heart and young in spirit. So thank you so much for your commitment to the city. Thank you.
Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Every other month, I travel around to different zip codes throughout the city and do Join Jennifer discussions. So my next one is going to be on September 17th at Kiwanis Recreational Center. And I would encourage everyone, you don't have to be in 85283 to attend. So I'd encourage everyone to come and join our conversations. And we're going to be talking about the Water Smart program and the Kiwanis Park Maintenance Management Plan. So please feel free to come and join us at 6 to 7 on September 17th. Second is in relationship to Ginny Belusik. Ginny Belusik is smart, sweet, dedicated, and has been a dear friend of mine for 32 years. And I'm gonna really miss her, and but no, I know where to find her because she used to live down the street from me. And anyway, Ginny, I love you, and I'll miss you. Thank you.
Councilmember Chin.
First, I'd like to give a shout out to my new friend, Dan Hepler. He is a solid waste equipment operator and has served in Tempe for 32 years. I recently went on a ride along with him. It was great. It was highly educational. Dan not only does a great job, he does a great job of taking care of us in our neighborhoods, and I really appreciate his work and the work of the rest of the team at Solid Waste. So thank you for making that possible. It was wonderful. Second, I would like to pile on about how great Ginny Belusik is. I've known her since I served on the Human Relations Commission. She has helped to raise our collective consciousness on many issues in the city, and she has really helped to create the inclusive community that we have in Tempe. So congratulations to her.
Thank you. All right, I just have a couple announcements on top of this is piling on Jenny. Jenny, you will be missed. Thank you so much for your dedication. You have made Tempe a better place for your service. It's really special to me. I've known Jenny for 30 plus years. Part of that has to do with the individual that placed Jenny with the city of Tempe for the job. Happened to be my mother, and she was a student of my mother's. Back in the day, it was called the Cooperative Internship Program, the COE program. And it's very special. My mom would be very proud of Jenny, what she has done. And she's been a steward and a stalwart for employees and for human dignity. So thank you, Jenny, for your years of service. Braden, congratulations on the Gabe Zimmerman Award. It is a prestigious award, as Vice Mayor mentioned. We're very honored to have you part of our team with the city. So congratulations to you and what you've done. And I want to give a shout out to our staff and the council, because there was something that we approved tonight on the resolution that kind of went unnoticed. And it was the resolution regarding the city of Tempe approving the affordable housing strategy for the city. You know, we talk a lot about caring, and Tempe is a very caring community. And the fact that we propose affordable housing strategy that's going to help guide future decision making for this council and future councils on the production and preservation of affordable housing in the city of Tempe. That's something that's very real. And it really helps with the goals and objectives of this resolution that we have as a city for making sure that we have availability and the quality of housing for residents of different income levels, and lays out a strategies of achieving housing affordability. That's something that's real, and that's something that we take very seriously as a council, and it kind of just flew under the radar with some of the other initiatives that we have. But it really goes to show a lot of work that we're doing and how we progress as a city. And for the human aspect of it. So I just wanted to thank the staff for what we've done with that. We talked about tonight with the micro homes, and we talked about the initiative we did with Habitat for Humanity. That does not, it's a collaborative effort of many different groups and agencies and organizations to really look at affordability and cost of living in the city of Tempe. And that's something that should not go unnoticed. So kudos to the staff and our city council colleagues for that. And also with that, I will close that portion of the announcements, and we will go to public appearances. And I do have some cards for public appearances. So according to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the City Council may only discuss matters that are listed on this agenda, and matters discussed by the public during public appearances that cannot be discussed by the city unless it is specifically listed on this agenda. There is a 3-minute time limit per speaker. Speakers' visual aids and recorded tapes are not allowed. Members of the public shall refrain from making any personal, pertinent, or slanderous remarks while attending this meeting. Unauthorized remarks will result in the removal of the council chambers. So with that, I'll go to the cards I have. James Benshoff.
My name is James Benshoff. I live in Tempe. This is sort of a complaint, but I hope it's not too much. I'm a 27-year resident of Tempe, a disabled former registered nurse teacher, accountant, and had been a longtime member of the Kiwanis Recreation Center. I was suspended from the Kiwanis Fitness Center without due process and based on a set of guidelines that are not approved by the council and subjectively applied. I had a voluntary uncooperated conversation with an employee where later that employee was encouraged to complain about the conversation. Carolyn Reether and Sean Wagner took this report and without investigation, 2 days later suspended me for 23 days and prohibited me from the building. I was accused of abusive language, inappropriate behavior, and verbal confrontation. These were not mentioned in the report, but taken verbatim from the uncodified guidelines. The conversation lasted maybe 2 minutes, and I never moved from the stationary bicycle I was riding. I talked about education and employment from my life experience. The employee participated freely. We were the only 2 people in the room. I believe this was a retaliatory action based on my effort to rid the lobby of mosquitoes during the Zika virus, reduce the cost for homeless to shower at Kiwanis, and make Kiwanis members aware of the automatic external defibrillator machine and what constitutes general efficiency. I pursued having the suspension overturned, and the process was not transparent. The employee conversation happened on February 4th, 2019, and I was suspended on late on the 6th by a telephone message. I wasn't given a copy of the complaint until February 25th. I met with Keith Burt, Ken Jones, and Andrew Ching, and each time it was not an experience looking for justice, it was a time for them to convince me I was wrong. In the meeting with Andrew Ching and 6 other members of the city staff, I learned that only 2 people have been suspended and that no one had spoken to the complainant. I don't want this to happen to anyone else, and I cannot return to Kiwanis until it is determined what I allegedly said that constitutes abusive language, inappropriate behavior, and verbal confrontation. I grew up in Iowa, and people say hello to everyone, and you can converse with strangers. I hope you can look into this.
Thank you, Mr. Benshoff. Next, Bill.
So I'm Bill Lothridge. As you know, I live in the rural Geneva area, and I've taken it on this task of coming and have become a council watcher. I'm encouraged by your discussion about the bikes and the scooters. One of the complaints that has been brought to me is that there is no public discussion generally. I'll turn my 3-minute thing on here, so I don't go over. I hope I'm not anywhere near that. But I'm encouraged by that discussion. It's like making sausage. It doesn't look pretty, but it is a discussion back and forth, and you have at least an expression of opinion. Many of the things that happen through this council are never discussed publicly like this, even a little bit about, 3 to 2 and it's have to have 2 addresses. I maybe should be responsible for checking the ordinance before I come and talk. I didn't really intend to talk. But it just seems to me that when you have 2 different addresses, that makes better sense. So that kind of information should be more available in the discussions that you have. I'm still concerned about the method and some of the things that are going on. I have some information requests from the Farmers Project. Keep digging this thing up, I suppose. But as I learn more about these things, I intend to come back. There are many people who would like to speak. They just don't come here because they don't feel like they get the attention that they deserve. They come, in fact, the last time a guy spoke and then he just left. The last time he'd been here had been 5 or 6 years before, and when he spoke, actually nobody was any interested in what he was speaking about. So there are things that some of us are concerned about. We would appreciate some feedback about some of that sometime. I know some of you they know me personally, So we have had some discussion, but I will try to inform myself better so I know what's happening, so I know that there's 2 households that have to be named there.
Thank you, Bill.
It's criticism.
Vice Mayor Kuby?
I just wanted to ask Judy, if something's a criticism, we can respond?
Yes, you may respond to
So I
criticism.
just want to respond about the criticism about the barking dog ordinance. There were 3 public meetings, and especially a working group discussion. We had substantive discussion about it, including the aspect about having one person be able to go to court and a full kind of vetting of the whole ordinance. So there was public discussion about it. And also, it's published. The whole agenda and the memo explaining it all is published and available online. Just wanted to let you know.
Councilmember Adams?
I know you've brought up a lot of times about that we don't discuss things up here. We get a packet of information every week before the council meetings, and we go through everything very thoroughly and read it and talk about it amongst ourselves. And if there's questions, we will always address them and our concerns. So we're trying to be we are transparent, trying to increase our transparency. So I just wanted to come back on that we do read our materials and discuss things.
Okay, next, Deborah Zajac. Come on down.
Hi, my name's Deborah Zajac. I live in McAllister in North Tempe. And I just want to say that I want to talk about the urban core plan. I sent an email to you guys earlier in the week, but I want to mention that on my right here.
Hey, wait, Deborah, can I ask you, can you take that little microphone that's on the podium?
This?
Yep, can you put it right there?
Oh, okay, better? Okay. As I was driving here today, I heard you, Vice Mayor Kuby, on the radio talking about affordable housing. So it was really kind of neat to come in here. I did not know about the Habitat for Humanity project that went up. I volunteered for them like in the 90s and when I was back in Chicago, so it was really nice to hear about that. And I'm also very pleased with what's going on with the smaller homes. So I think that, that was very nice to hear when I walked in today. But my concern, and most times when I come up and speak, it has to do with development in Tempe. And I've been going to some of the meetings about the Urban Core Master Plan and the TOD. And I did send an email to everyone because I had some concerns. And thank you very much, Randy, for responding. We don't always agree on things, but we're able to go back and forth on that, and I appreciate that. And maybe I misunderstood what it was about. Because I know when I come up here and I speak about development, it's often because I see things that with the general plan, how they are variances. Variances to the plan are more the norm than the exception. And it was my understanding that when they did this Urban Core Master Plan, we wanted some kind of intelligent guidance to the growth in the city, areas where we want more density. But I was under the impression that there were going to be some set standards as opposed to all these parcel by parcel variances, height, density, and this and that. So I was a little surprised when I thought that's not going to be the case because of the 4 areas. And I think those 4 areas are good: sustainability, affordable housing, historic, and public amenities. But then it occurred to me that if those are the things we're going to use to negotiate, we're going back to this parcel by parcel kind of negotiations, and there's going to be changes to the plan. So I was concerned about that, and I wanted to know, and I spoke with Chad at the last meeting they had on Monday about some type of formula so that it's not so this give and take between what we're offering in regards to extras or these bonuses. There was some kind of formula, so it wasn't just willy-nilly so it could be equitable, because I think what happened with the Camden Hayden project, where we gave them a benefit that, netted them maybe $500,000 to $600,000 annually for the lifetime, and we got a one-time payment of $30,000, I was super disappointed with that, and I'd like to prevent that from happening with the new plan.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thanks.
That's all the cards I have. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address us? Could you please get my attention under unscheduled public appearances? Seeing none with that, we are adjourned. Thanks.